So greetings everyone and welcome to another episode of Dialogues about the Future, the series of interview organized and edited by the Association for Teatro del Combattente di Collevecchio in Italy. My name is Taras and today we will talk about the personality, but first of all, let me present my guests, the very special one with whom I have this kind of opportunity to meet in the person. So today with us are the actor and performer Klaus Geisler and the playwright, producer and director of National Theatre of Greenland, Susanne Andreasen. I'm so glad to see you guys. Thank you for being here and thank you for accepting our invitation. How are you?
I'm good and thank you for inviting us. Exciting.
Yes, thank you. We're doing good.
Okay, let's move to the topic. And my first question will be probably for you, Susanne. I was wondering, the history of modern performance comes from rituals and beliefs, and obviously it was a very important part for the life, for the people in that period. And I was wondering how important was performance for Greenlanders through the history. Maybe we can find some performative elements that remain from those epochs in modern life, some kind of traditional holidays, or maybe some rituals.
Yes, I don't think it's so unique here to everywhere else. I mean, we've been telling stories, and when I say we, I speak now for Greenland, but I was born in Denmark. So, but since we're here, I just speak like this. So traditional storytelling is a huge part, and myths and legends and mythical creatures, a huge part of defining who we are and telling about where we come from, and the whole spiritual world could add to understanding you know, your inner life, your feelings, your abilities. And so there, traditionally, when we talk about Greenlandic tradition, also in theater, we talk about, for example, the drum dance. And the drum is, of course, the heartbeat, as it is everywhere else in the world. We have this drum made of driftwood and then a skin. Often it is made from the skin of maybe a polar bear stomach, maybe a reindeer, that you attach to the rim, and you beat the wooden part in Greenland. But this drum is connected. We have the same type of drum around the North Pole, but it can be used in different ways. And this was part of the song tradition and the shamanism, because the shamans could travel, you know, in the spirit, and the drum could be connected to that, could be part of that, and so that's a very traditional, very strong tradition here. And it's still used today. It was when the Christianity came. Yeah. When the Christians came, of course, it was banned. It was considered, you know, savage and wrong and all of this. So it almost died out, especially on the west coast of Greenland. The country is so big, so the east coast was more isolated. So they were able to keep this tradition alive for longer. And so, but it had to be relearned, revitalized, relived, and you still see it today. And it is something you use for a festive occasion or a special occasion, and it has a long, you know, there's more to it than just this short presentation. It's also different songs from the east to the west and the north to the south. But that's one part. And the other one that we traditionally also in this meaning is the mask dance. That is also very traditional, and it's connected to, well, it deals with three like basic feelings. The feeling of fear, the feeling of knowing how to be afraid, knowing your own fear, the feeling of having fun, laughing, clowning, and the feeling of flirting, connecting to someone else. I'm sorry.
Was it the representation of the fear?
Yes, we know this now. And the flirtatious part also, you know, fertility and new life. So there's these three elements, and then there's the symbols in the mask that you just draw on your face. It's not a wooden mask that you wear, but you draw the colors on your face. The red for life and blood. The black for the hidden world, and then you draw lines, and that's the bones of the ancestors, the white. And I mean, this is not my tradition, so it also feels a little bit, but I do work in theater, and we, at this place, we really keep these traditions alive. So the mass dance is a big part of the Greenlandic theater. The drum dance is also a big part of the Greenlandic theater, and that's why we can talk about it in this way. So we still use the mass dance today, and it's an improvised art form, so it always appears in the moment and in connection with the audience.
It's really nice. Really amazing that you like kind of reserve this these traditions and revolving this tradition in the new ways, I would say. It's really nice.
And that has been a big part of the Greenlandic theater since the first also theater school started. They really took this tradition and developed it, and they've done so much to revitalize it and make it known.
Yeah, it's really nice. So Klaus, Greenland is pretty small country in terms of population, at least, I guess, with kind of difficult conditions for the comfort living. I mean, for Europeans, with a lot of snow, ice, and cold, I guess. How do you think this territory has influenced your stories and the way you represent them?
Well, we are storytellers, and the stories are told by person to person throughout the territories, and they come a long way all the way from Asia to Alaska to Canada, and then here, and then we develop our own history it's only by mouth to mouth. And it's out to it's because of the storytelling we are doing. It's we never have written anything. It's only by retelling them to others, and then they remember it, and then telling it to the others, and that's how it went through the old days, and not until the Christianity came and Knud Rasmussen and all those missionaries and all that. That's only when we started to tell the stories and by written them down. So it's have been a long journey from thousands of years ago. So that's how our stories survive. And yeah, so some of the stories, the Lady of the Sea and although they are from ancient time and still very popular.
Yeah, so it has kind of influenced on the nature and the territory in itself.
Yeah, because we love our country so much. We love the nature up here so much, and then we are not like Christians. We are like nature people, so that's why we are connecting with the nature so much, and use them in our storytelling.
It's really great, I guess. So I would ask you to describe the personality of Greenland in 3 words. Which one it would be and why?
Oh, the 3 words of Greenland identity.
The first one will be resistant, no? Because
Survivors,
yeah. And we are The first word I would say that would be close to nature people. We love, well, our nature is so big and we live by the sea. So we are, that's the first word.
Yeah.
And also our language, it's the Greenlandic language, it's kind of an Inuit language developed, and we are very strong in it. Actually, one of the strongest in the Inuit around the world. So Greenlanders are very proud of their language. So, and the last one would maybe be our culture. It's refound. So those three words would, well, describe us.
Yeah.
Also very warm people in a very cold country with a big sense of humor.
That's true. That's really true. Yes. So guys, you've traveled a lot. Now we can't to do this anymore, obviously, not at least as we were used to. And you've been to a lot of places. I'm wondering, what kind of stories are you presenting to the public outside of your country, and how this representation changed with the new Shannon language and modern theater resources? And maybe you have some plans to change it. Maybe you can tell us more about it, Susanne.
Should I start? Yes. I think just the ability to get out and also represent the Greenlandic language in other parts of the world is a big thing, where around 50,000 people speak the language. And so, for example, we were represented at a Asian festival in Hong Kong. And the fact that the Greenlandic language was spoken from a stage in this huge country with all these people, I think it was something else. And I think because we also gave a talk at the university, that they realized also that it's this preservation and development of the language and the culture, how important it is, and that was, I think that made some meaning to all of us who were part of that. But even Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and we have been colonized by the Danes. I am Danish. It seems strange. I'm so bit schizophrenic in these conversations sometimes. But Klaus was part of a performance that we did where we toured in Denmark, and we're going to do that more. I think he should talk a little bit about that. And before, I could just mention also the graduation performance that Klaus did. He was the first one of the first team of students that graduated from here as a national theater. And we told a story that based on a true story about Minik, a boy from the Thule area, the most northern part of Greenland, who were taken to New York City. And it was a little bit like that they put the people and things from Greenland on display. Come and see the Eskimos, in the beginning of the 1900s. So that story was really important to share, and we took that to Nunavut, Iqaluit, just on the other side here in Canada. And they just resonated with the story, because they know that same history. We share that with them, and that was a really meaningful experience to be able to share that. And just it is a little bit of educating people around about Greenland, but of course through culture, through the art.
Yeah, that's amazing. Can we talk a little more about this performance you were talking?
The performance is called The Greenlandic Man, and it brings up how the Greenlandic man is in this new world is becoming more and more hidden, because the women are getting stronger.
Yeah, when we see the statistics, women, they take the educations, they're the ones who are able to move from city to city for a job, or they're the ones really connecting the families, you know, the statistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we wanted to do a show that's, because long before time it was like the man was the hunter and the leader of the house and all that. And that's not how it is anymore. And it's just stories about how the Greenlandic man is and how he will adapt into the big
city.
Globalization.
Yeah.
Basically.
So, and it's also a kind of get up with all the prejudice about the Greenlandic people and man, and it's very important to tell that story too, because there's so much prejudice about Greenland and alcohol and child abuse and all those things. So we are not like that. We are globalized.
So much more. Yeah,
so much more.
And I think it did really put a new perspective on Greenlanders in Denmark, even though, you know, we've been connected for 300 years and have a history together. There are a lot of these prejudices, and I think people got a new perspective, you know, and that was important.
Very.
Yeah, I think it's very important to represent the culture in a new way, and it's a kind of great opportunity, you know, to educate the people outside of the world of your country. This is amazing. So, remaining in this kind of this area of theater, can you still tell us more about your theater, how it is organized, what are the activities that you are proposing to the spectator, and how you, maybe the most interesting for me, how do you interact with the city community outside of the theater?
We are a very small place, so we're actually only five hired staff, and then everyone else is freelance. So when we hire Klaus as an actor, he's a freelancer. And we're both a theater and an acting school. So we also have a program, 2-year program for students. We try to not only do performances, but also interact in other cultural activities. So, for example, this year it's our 10-year anniversary as a national theater. We are a very young institution.
Congratulations!
Thank you. So, what we've done and what we will continue to do this year is in connection actually with the Odin Theater from Denmark. We've established a collaboration with them, and we do something we call Ginat Festival, the festival of the faces, and that is that we travel around the country and make cultural exchange. So everyone is invited to a festival. Everyone can participate with what they can do, if they can sing a song or, I don't know, throw a ball, make a jump, and anything is welcome. So we're just in the beginning of spreading that out and touring with that festival. We've done some amateur theater festivals, and we also, music is also part of the theater. So when we were in Corona lockdown, we sent out a CD with some of the music from one of our musical performances so that people could have that live feeling in their own homes and things like that.
It's really nice. Really nice. So unfortunately, I'm not very conscious of the history of Greenland, but from the history of my motherland, I can say that the language is kind of very important for identifying the nation. Am I right saying that you have 2 languages in use, right?
Yes, yeah, so Greenlandic and Danish are the
2 main. Okay.
Yes.
So I wonder, what is the situation, the current situation with the language? How has it changed in some direction, and maybe how it can cause some changes?
Well, as we said before, the Greenlandic language is very strong, and we're very proud of it. But we do have well, a lot of Greenlanders talk both languages, but if you get to the smaller places, they're only Greenlandic language is spoken. But
well, historically and politically, it has been a big debate, and I think you should tell your own.
Well, my own story is like I grew up with only Danish, even though I'm Greenlandic, because at my time, my mom wanted to have the best possibilities for me for an education, because the only way to get a good education was to speak Danish at my time when I was little. So we grew up only speaking Danish. So not until I started here on a theater school, I learned Greenlandic properly, and now I speak it fluently. So and that's the way it is right now. It's getting stronger and stronger, and it's not a taboo anymore to only speak Greenlandic or only speak Danish. It's getting more globalized. We also include English very much in the society, so that is also one of the things that, because we want to get out in the world.
Yeah, sure.
So, but it is still a big, huge debate, and something we talk about to really preserve and keep the language alive. And it can be difficult with the education system because there's not enough like school books and tools that are developed in Greenlandic. So that is a big challenge. I also wanted to say that at the acting school, for example, we've chosen to speak and teach in Greenlandic and in English. So we don't use the Danish. It's just a third language that we share among us, but just to prepare the actors for something else, so that they're not, we know that they're not only hired in Denmark when they're done, or that they can actually manage in a global world.
Yeah, I guess this is amazing, like chance to give the roots of the home country with the language, and it's great that you have this kind of opportunity to study the language from the basis, I guess. And for the last questions, I have the very simple one and maybe the hardest at the same time, because I wanted to ask you, what is that you like the most in your country?
Ladies first.
So if I speak I've lived here for 13 years now, and I'm kind of lost. I could never just move back to Denmark, and it would be very difficult for me, because you have the space, you have the nature, you have the view, you have the ocean just outside the door. I mean, everything, this big gift that nature is just outside your door all the time. And it's not just a thing outside yourself, it's also a thing that changes you inside you, something inside you. So when I go to Denmark now, I can feel a little trapped, I can feel a little claustrophobic, because I don't have the horizon, I don't have this view. So it's a very mental and physical and psychological thing, the connection to nature. It's very strong and very powerful, and it's so beautiful and so big. So that's really one thing. And then the silence. Just when you're out in nature, but also when you're among people, it's part of the culture that you don't always have to speak, and things don't have to happen so fast, and we don't always have to make ourselves heard. We can just be around each other and be quiet, and that's really also a gift, I feel.
I have to say the same. The nature and the sea, out sailing, go hiking, hunting. Well, the nature. We are a nature people, and that's what we love about our country.
This is so great to hear that this nature that inspires you when you're working and when you're like living. This is great to hear. I'm very pleased to hear it. It's amazing.
Come and see it someday.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being with us. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and it was really nice to have this chit chat with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you again.
Yes, great.
For our spectators, I should tell that sign up for our socials and for the social of the guys. There will be so much interesting to coming up. So stay tuned and have a nice day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.